It has been 2 years, 9 months, and 5 days since the first case of COVID-19 was identified in New York and our lives were turned upside down. Today, we face a world that will never be the same. The choices we collectively make in 2023 will shape and solidify our new normal and impact the conditions of our daily lives for decades to come. For this reason, it is an especially important time for us to reflect on where we are as a district and how we arrived here. It is easy to think of the pandemic as an unforeseeable, unavoidable natural disaster. But while the virus itself may have been all of those things, the harm it caused most certainly was not. When the pandemic began, I was a math teacher at a middle school that, like most of the schools in Brooklyn, was severely underfunded. Our classrooms were already so overcrowded, they bordered on the legal maximum student-to-teacher ratio with virtually no safety margin. That March, I saw firsthand how this existing injustice also created a massive vulnerability in a moment of crisis, whenever a COVID outbreak left some classes with no teachers at all. Chronic budget cuts meant we simply did not have enough staff to cover them. Unfortunately, the vulnerabilities of our underfunded schools were just the tip of the iceberg. These cuts not only made life increasingly more difficult for the rest of us, they also set us up for utter devastation when COVID reached us. It left us vulnerable in 1,000 different ways. Nursing homes with deadly staffing ratios, infrequent packed buses and subway cars, overcrowded homeless shelters, wages so low many people could not afford to stay home sick and miss a single day's pay, and the list goes on. It is no mere coincidence that our predominantly working class, predominantly black district, already so disproportionately burdened by budget cuts, was also so disproportionately harmed by this pandemic. It is also no mere coincidence that while we collectively faced years of this compounded pandemic devastation, many of the wealthiest New Yorkers actually got richer. The rest of us spent the early months of 2022 embarking on the long and arduous process of rebuilding our lives, our neighborhoods, and our district together. But just as we began to recover, large corporations saw and seized their opportunity to take hold of even more wealth. This spring, price gouging became the new normal. Over half of the inflation we've recently faced went toward increased corporate profits, not to covering a rise in the price of raw materials, nor to paying higher wages for workers, simply to satisfy the desire of massive, under-regulated corporations and their wealthy owners to take even more from a population struggling to get back on its feet. Over the past decade, we have been pushed to the very limits of the endurable and beyond. This year has proven that we will continue to be asked to make do with less and less so that the ultra-rich can have more and more, until and unless we fight back. In just 19 years, a new year begins. With it comes the creation of a new state budget. In this new state budget, New York has the opportunity to finally close the loopholes that enable corporations and the ultra-rich to avoid paying their fair share of taxes. In doing so, we can restore and strengthen the programs that can make our community resilient, healthy, and safe. We can fund a strong public transportation system that doesn't leave people waiting forever at a bus stop after dark, that doesn't continuously hike up fares, forcing many to choose between missing work or sneaking onto a bus. We can better fund our violence interrupter programs, which halt the spread of violence and prevent incidents before they occur. We can fund the Universal Child Care Act, so that all families have access to childcare for kids 0 to 12 without navigating an often impossible maze of paperwork and a convoluted checklist of requirements. We can uplift existing childcare providers with higher reimbursements while supporting and training a new generation of desperately needed providers to relieve our childcare deserts. All of these things and more can be done if New York stops granting the ultra-rich the ability to avoid paying their fair share of taxes while the rest of us shoulder the burden. But to create a safe, stable, and free future for our district, we must also go beyond funding. We must pass good cause eviction, which would protect many of the most vulnerable New Yorkers from unjustified evictions, while also shielding them from price gouging on the cost of their rent. We must build public, renewable energy and free ourselves from the grasp of profit-seeking energy corporations that poison our air and exploit their monopolies to charge wildly inflated rates. And we must finally pass the New York Health Act to provide comprehensive health care for every New Yorker without the need for insurance companies, which take our money and restrict our access to health care in order to increase their own profit margins. Every single one of these changes is possible in 2023, and each one of them will be vehemently opposed by the powerful corporations and individuals who profit off of us all in our current system. These changes are possible only if we fight for them by standing together in solidarity with one another. Every day, I am heartened to see that in District 25, we understand the power and importance of a unified and active community. It is this understanding that has enabled us to persevere through the pandemic with shared grassroots efforts to provide mutual aid for all of our neighbors in need. And it is this understanding that will enable us to win a more just future for our district, no matter how challenging the battles we face. Tonight, we have the opportunity to hear from certain community members who embody this spirit, who work to create the change we so desperately need by bringing people together at the grassroots. All these individuals inspire me to action, and I hope you will be equally inspired. First, it is my great honor to introduce the recipients of this year's Woman of Distinction Award, Ms. Oyabisi Ida Abdullah, known to many as Sister Bisi. Sister Bisi is an organizer, an educator, a writer, a mother, and the co-founder and executive director of the Imani House. Originally from Brooklyn in New York, she moved to Liberia as an adult and was living there when Civil War broke out in December 1989. Despite the dangers of staying in the region, Sister Bisi faced the turmoil head-on and worked to set up Imani House as a clinic to provide medical aid to the sick and wounded. During a period of ethnic cleansing, Imani House became a space where people of different ethnic tribal groups and religious backgrounds could come together for one another and receive care. Years later, on a return trip to Brooklyn, Sister Bisi expanded her work to support her community here as well. Imani House now offers a variety of services, including homework assistance, athletics, and performing arts programs for youth, as well as adult education programs. Between Liberia and the United States, the organization serves approximately 15,000 community members. Sister Bisi has also used her time and talents to uplift the voices of other women of color. Since 1999, she has conducted a writing workshop for women of color in New York City. Through her steadfast efforts, a dozen women from her workshop are now published authors.
Wow. Yeah.
In New York State and internationally, her work continues to bring people together to build power and fight for a more just future. Please join me in welcoming to the stage, she's already here, Sister Oyabisi Ida Abdullah.
Okay, so I have 3 minutes, guys. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for streaming this. This work is so important. I want to thank Senator Jabari Bridgeport. I don't know where he came from, but he's one of the few people that answers calls, that responds to you. When new people got into office, I began immediately to try to contact them because Imani House is an activist, but also a fundraising organization, and we need help many times because we are under attack many times because we are small and because we go against the grain. So I don't know where he came from, but I want to thank you with all my heart, and I'm so happy you are here as our senator and able to help us and help others and really care. That just doesn't happen in politics anymore. Okay, it doesn't happen anymore, and I'm sincere about that. He got money for us that had been sitting for 2 years, he and his staff, and they told us you can't get it, there's no way. And he got it, it was $10,000, and it belonged to us, but it had got lost in the shuffle. Then I went back to him, he got $1,600 that was sitting for Children's Services, that they said it couldn't be done, and he did it. So the point I'm making is he is a can-do person, I am a can-do person. And when people ask, well, how on earth are you doing it in Liberia and the United States? I am very stubborn. My mother said I was dropped on my head. I don't believe her. And anybody that knows me, some people don't like it, know that I will stand up for us. I will stand up not only for us, but for other races as well. I will stand up for anybody. Because I think somebody has to do it. And I always say, if not me, then who? If not now, then when? And I learned that in college. I became a revolutionary. I didn't pick up a gun. I went ahead and decided I would make change. They gave us that opening. You can make change, that's revolution too, you know, you don't have to kill anybody. So I do want to give thanks to my grandmother. Her name was Cook Street Mary. And you can see where I got my gusto from. I come up in very poor circumstances, hungry many times. My father left. My mother had never worked in my life. And there we were on welfare in the Marcy Projects. But I never was told that I was less than. I never was told that I couldn't achieve. I went to schools that at that time were actually integrated because white people were poor too. And so I managed to achieve. I don't have to talk about myself, he already has. I have 5 children. One is a scientist, genetic scientist at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. She's a tenured scientist. I have a son who is an aerospace engineer with Boeing. I have a son who works in human services here in New York. I have a daughter who is a pediatrician. And this happened because I went and moved my children out of this country. I just want to say one more thing, and this I'll close on. 2 little feet drove me out of this country. The 2 little feet are from the hospital that my daughter died in because they would not admit me to that hospital. That is why I'm here. It changed my life. I said that will never happen to anyone else if I can stop it. And it was very unfair. It was in South Carolina. And all I have is a picture of her 2 little feet. So I want to thank all of you for coming. I want to thank our senator. And I know we can do great things.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here. My name is Maisha Morales, and I am one of Senator Jabari Brisport's constituent advocates. Today, I will be honoring Steve Colon. The harms caused by violent or oppressive systems often lead to the erosion of community stability and of social connections within a community. Having directly experienced the harms of such systems, Mr. Steve Colon has dedicated his time and energy to healing and strengthening his community through advocacy and direct service. He has taught and inspired others to do the same, spreading a spirit of mutual aid and empowerment. Steve Colon has served his community both in his role with Black Vets for Social Justice and as a volunteer and activist in his free time. We have an outstanding example to follow in his efforts to stand up for his neighbors, build community power, and win a more just future. Steve, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Excuse me, my throat is sore. Senator Ferrari, I just want to say I'm very humbled and honored to be here. I do the things I do because it needs to be done. You know, Edmund Burke said, in order for evil to triumph, good men do nothing. You know, I hear a lot of people say, oh, we gotta take care of this. This gotta be done. This gotta be done. What are you doing about it to help it? You know, I was in the Marines, I'm a combat veteran. as you, sister, I never heard of Senator Jabrari. But I had a personal problem. My daughter lives in housing, and she had a terrible condition, and the way they fixed this was ridiculous. They came there, did a segment on TV, and it went nowhere with that TV program. I called Maisha, she spoke to the senator. Within 3 days, that problem was fixed and painted up. I work in Black Veterans for Social Justice because my main thing is I don't feel any veteran, anyone who served their country should be without a home and should be without a job. That's my primary job. We went to Washington to fight for this. I fight for this every day. But after what I seen the brother doing, like you said, they answer that call. And when Maisha calls and tells me we're gonna be here doing this and that, I tell her, stop asking me if I could come. Just tell me where and when, I'll be there. Whatever I could do. Because I know this brother's one of the few brothers that's not just giving, words. He's doing what he said he's gonna do. And brother, I'm always gonna be there to back you up. And I do this because we need this done. And like I said, I really don't have too many words because I'm too humbled and honored by this, to be honored. I don't do this for this. I do this for the people. Thank you for your time. Thank you for having me.
Next, we're going to honor the Green Light Bookstore Workers Union, which is being represented tonight by Maritza Montañez and Alicia Lynn. Earlier this year, about 40 Green Light Bookstore employees unionized with the Retail, Wholesale, and Department Store Union, aka RWDSU. And yes, we just want to honor them. Organizing with your coworkers is no small feat. It means getting to know them, identify what we collectively need for a better workplace, and demanding nothing less. We're so happy that your union was recognized and that you ratified your first contract. Please help me welcome to the stage Maritza and Alicia.
Thank you so much for having us here today. I'm very grateful and proud to represent my coworkers at Green Light Bookstore and yours truly, our sister stationery store. We're very proud of the contract that we ratified. We ratified it this year, but our organizing really started almost 2 years ago with a Zoom phone call or a Zoom call that was just Black, Asian, and Latinx workers coming together to share what we were experiencing as frontline workers in the middle of the pandemic. That phone call really laid the groundwork for everything that we did. It allowed us to identify what concerns we shared, what ideas we had to make our workplace better, and what we believed we could do to make those ideas happen. That all helped us get to our contract. I think even if we hadn't had such an efficient road to a contract, it's very unusual to get a contract so quickly. What I'm really proud of is that that also allowed us to start listening to one another carefully and actively and deliberately. Even before we had our official recognition of our union, my coworkers and I have always been checking in with one another every day. We check in, see how we're doing, see how we can support one another, both in terms of what actionable things we can get from the company that we're representing and what we can do just informally for each other. Again, we're very, very proud of what we've done, and it's exciting to be in a room with people who are doing this on so many different scales, whether it's labor organizing like we've done, or organizing within your building, your neighborhood, your district, or broader communities. So thank you again so much, and appreciate it.
Warren Street Houses TA. During Senator Brisport's first week in office, January of 2021, one of our first calls we received was from Warren Street Houses TA President, Ms. Joanne Brown. Her NYCHA development had just transitioned into the RAD PAC program and was now being managed by private developers. During this transition, many tenants, most who were seniors, started receiving eviction notices and transfer notices, informing them they had to move from their apartments into other privately owned Section 8 buildings across the city, basically displacing them from the communities where most of them have lived all their lives. Many experienced harassment and outright disrespect from the management company. The tenants brought this to the TA's attention, and Ms. Joanne Brown and Vice President Tiffany Brown jumped into action. They advocated for their neighbors and organized. They would not take no for an answer. Ms. Joanne Brown and Ms. Tiffany Brown have responded to this injustice with years of dedicated resistance, not only on their own behalves, but also on behalf of all their neighbors. And through this, they were able to keep their tenants in their homes, build a transparent relationship with the management company, and have them also provide social services for the tenants. They continue to diligently serve as president and vice president, respectively, of the Warren Street Houses Tenant Association. Their work has uplifted neighbors holistically, meeting needs ranging from food access to employment support, and strengthened the fabric of their community. Today, we honor you both for all of your selfless efforts. Thank you for your leadership.
Thank you, Senator Bristow, and thank you all for coming out. And I'm honoring all you guys at the same time too. But I'm not gonna be big, bro, be I say long-winded. I just wanna say thank you. But the dedication is from the heart. Everything I do is from the heart, no matter what's going on in my development or at my job. I try to maneuver brother both of them. So far I'm doing pretty good on it. And then if I have a problem, I'll call Maisha. Said the first one. I'm sorry, but I have to get on your nerves sometimes. But thank you, for understanding, okay, thank you. And then I had to reach out to my baby here. Well, see, I had to call him, well, oh, this is my daughter, I'm sorry. I had to call her up and I had to talk to her. See, I have to have like a little conversation, let her know what's going on. And then I want to be making sure that I'm doing the right thing. Because even though I'm saying to myself, I know I'm doing the right thing, but then, okay, Titi, if this is right, this is right, this is right, and then she'll let me know, and then I'll call Miss Maisha, and then I'll say, did I do that right? And then she said, why are you second guessing yourself, girl? You know you're doing something positive. And you wanna know, oh man, thank you from the bottom of my heart for both of you. You don't know what kind of situation that we was in when we first started. But let me tell you, we came a long ways. Everything is starting to be on the straight and narrow, but I'm not gonna back down, no, I'm not. I need to be here for my tenants, especially for my seniors, because they are dying so quickly. And so I need to be there for them. Like I said, one time, two of the ladies, they did come. I call them my grandma, so that's what I'm gonna call them, okay? My grandmother, they came to the house. And knocked at the door, I'm in the bed sleeping, and this is the truth. She went into the refrigerator, taking the food. I said, what is you doing? She said, Mommy, but there's two ladies at the door. I said, what two ladies? I go to the door, I call them grandma, and they go, Joe, oh, Joe, do you have any food? I go, you all right, Mama? Y'all got, what's going on? Then they said, no, we don't have any food. Tiffany again. Mommy, is there any way that you can get some food for anybody? And let me tell you, I got on the phone, I called up Nikki Wrestler, I called up Joanne, I called up Bridgeport, I was just on the phone, just talking to people all the way around, okay? I even called up that, well, right now, he's our mayor now, okay, anyway, I called up him too. And then, so he said, you know, I mean, like, I know he's gonna tell me, look here, girl, that's okay. But, I'm just saying what happened. So all that food came, and all of my seniors, I made sure that they got off the bat, everything. Because
Yeah.
I need to be all right. When they get sick, their parents, and well, their children will let you know. I went to the hospital to go check on them to see was they okay. And if they passed away, I go to the funeral, and I sit all the way in the back, I don't say nothing. And then they'll say, Miss Joanne, I don't say it, I just go like this, they say, no, thank you for being there for my mother, but when I couldn't be there. And to me, I thank the Lord for putting me on this area. I'm gonna keep going straight, and I'm gonna keep doing what he's telling me to do. And I'm gonna walk with him, because he's backing me. He's my angel, and I got my ancestors right on my shoulders. And I'm my angel, and I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing. But thank y'all people for
Come on, TT.
Yes, you do.
Come on, TT.
Wait.
I do want to say thank you to everyone. My biggest motivation was Maisha and my mom. And Maisha introduced us to Senator Jabari. And I truly thank you. It's so important for us to see someone that looks like us, especially coming from our community. So often NYCHA residents are often misheard or misunderstood and overlooked. And I continue to say that because often we are overlooked. No one understands how often you have the working poor that lives there. There's a stereotype that's associated with residents of NYCHA, and it often, we're pushed off. No one wants to hear us. Our residents work hard, they get up every day, and that was my biggest motivation, watching them struggle throughout the pandemic. We are having people knock at our door asking for food and asking for help and just trying to find somewhere to go. My passion comes from following behind my mother, her drive. I don't know where she gets it from. I don't know where she gets it from, but she's so motivated. Even when she don't understand anything, she's the first to call to find out information. She will harass you. I mean, literally harass you for her residents. And that's just, like I said, just having someone in leadership that looks like us, that comes out on a regular basis when we call. It's never a no. If he can't make it, Maisha's there front and center, and I adore you both. And I thank you. Thank you for my mom. That's about it. Just want to say that. Thank you.
Our first year in office, not the first week like Ms. Brown, but maybe 6-8 months later, we received a call from a young man who was a neighbor that cared. When we would ask him his name, he would just say, I'm just a neighbor that cared. This young man brought to our attention, who turns out he's also a comrade, Adam, thank you, Adam, brought to our attention that there were some tenants going through some issues at Redwood Houses East. He then introduced our office to tenant leader Ruben Morales. Now, it's our belief that the overall health and well-being of all people and of our community as a whole depends on access to stable, safe housing. Public housing has the ability to provide that for many years, has the ability to provide that and has done for many years. In the past 20+ years, public housing in New York has been systematically undermined, divested from, and privatized, leaving tenants in increasingly unsafe, precarious housing circumstances. And that's not okay. In recent years, I've also witnessed tenants across the city come together, organize and fight back. Mr. Ruben Morales is one of those tenants. He has stepped up to fight this injustice for the sake of his neighbors and fellow tenants. He has helped others discover their own power to fight back, and he has uplifted them as new leaders. His work has inspired community organizing, not only in his own building, but in neighboring buildings as well. Ruben, it has been an honor to work alongside you. Other tenant leaders like Mr. Richard Williams, who unfortunately had a family emergency and could not make it here today, but is also being honored. And all of the tenants of 606 and 604 Clinton Street, Redwood Houses East. Today, we honor you for all of your selfless efforts. Thank you for your leadership.
Thank you all.
All this was made possible with the help and guidance of Senator Bridgeport from Brooklyn and his constituents in guiding me and showing me how to lead. I started off as one person myself. The next thing I knew, I had my neighbors join in. The next thing I knew, I had the whole floor. Slowly but surely, I creeped into the whole building. The next whole I was doing, I started getting involved in the next building. A total of 60 families that had united and bring together as one voice.
Yes, yes, yes.
I can't believe I actually got that done in such a short time. But with good help, such as my campaign manager there, Adam, and my wife, through their strength, their knowledge, got me where I'm at. I just want to say thank you all for having me here.
Everyone has a right to be free from discrimination and valued for who they are. The intersectional marginalization and oppression of seniors and of the LGBTQ+ community has significantly and disproportionately reduced their access to safe, stable, affordable housing. In 2020, Stonewall House, New York City's first affordable, LGBTQ+ friendly senior housing development, opens its doors. Shortly after, the Stonewall House Tenant Association was formed, and they have worked to confront such marginalization and oppression while protecting housing for a wide range of tenants. Stonewall House Tenant Association has fostered a safe space for a diverse community to come together, work through their grievances, and protect their rights as tenants. They have not only advocated for their neighbors, but they have also helped one another discover and access their own power as tenants. Please join me in welcoming two of the TA members of Stonewall Senior House, Kiara McGinnis and Bill Means.
Good evening, it's an honor to be here. My name is Kieran McGinnis. I'm one of the co-chairs, there's four of us, of the Tenants Association at the Stonewall House. I just want to read a little bit, acknowledge some people who are not here. So besides Bill and myself, there's also Mashad Kafi and George Berry, who unfortunately could not join us tonight, but it's truly a collective effort. We don't have a president, we have four co-chairs, we do everything as a group. Stonewall House is a unique experiment in, pardon me? Oh, sorry. Stonewall House is a unique experiment in affordable senior housing, and as we close in on our third year, I can safely add that it has been a very successful one, and hopefully a model to build upon. And I'd like to give thank yous to Michael Adams and Sage for their vision in conceiving Stonewall House as a home for LGBTQ seniors and seeing it through to completion. We are a diverse senior community from all walks of life, vibrant, engaged, and very much looking forward to what comes next. Now I'd like to introduce my co-chair, Bill Mean.
Thank you. Sorry that we entered the stage differently from everyone else, but you know white men can't jump. It's almost 3 years since we moved back to Brooklyn. I grew up in East New York and had left and been many different places. But rent became an issue for me, and I couldn't afford to live in Jackson Heights, where I had lived for many, many years. And this opportunity to come into Stonewall House was a phenomenal opportunity. But most of us that came, it wasn't just rent that when we got here that we were happy that we had a place to live. We wanted a community to live in. And we were maybe 3 weeks at most when masks went on. So trying to organize with all you saw was eyes was a very difficult thing. But we began to see that everyone was looking for the same thing. We came from very much different backgrounds. People said, this will never work. We had people formerly houseless people, we had NYCHA seniors, we had a gay community. This is not gonna mix. Well, it did. And it becomes an opportunity for others to look at us and say, this type of supportive housing is good and works and should be commended. From the very beginning, the senator, our assemblywoman, our councilwoman have been there for us on every issue that we needed help on. And for that, we're really, really happy. It's important for us to reach out to people because you can't do anything in this city without a coalition behind you. One voice is not enough, but many voices, it's heard. And that's a lesson that all of you seem to have emulated in your own lives, and we're happy to be honored with you tonight. Thank you. We're not going to fall, I promise you. Thank you.
And hello, me again. So I have the pleasure of introducing Stephanie Aponte, representing the parents of the Shirley Chisholm Daycare Center in Ocean Hill, Brownsville. You know, childcare is an essential part of any well-functioning society, and access to quality early childhood education is key to solving our racial justice issues. Good wages for care workers are a gender justice issue, and yet due to underfunding the childcare sector for decades, New York has lost thousands of childcare providers since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. Stephanie Aponte and the parents at Shirley Chisholm Daycare said, "Not in my hood." So when they were alerted that 2 locations of their daycare center in Ocean Hill, Brownsville were slated for closure, Stephanie and the parents sprang into action. They organized together, alongside with the teachers, to raise their voices. They wrangled the legislators in the area, and thanks to their advocacy and many conversations with the community, with the board of directors, with the Department of Education and the Department of Health and Mental Health, Shirley Chisholm Daycare Center is still open today.
Yay.
And we're gonna fight to keep it open. I'll please share some remarks.
First, I want to say thank you to everyone in this room, but especially thank you, Senator, for caring about us, you know, parents of hardworking people in this country. I never even thought that this was gonna happen. I never thought that this was even possible to save a daycare in our neighborhood, or even to have this moment here with every one of you. But I'm so thankful for being able to be in the presence of so much greatness. I'm so thankful for the opportunity to step up and fight for our community. This new child care bill that Senator Brisport is talking about, universal child care, is not only a necessity, is a must. We need to fight for universal child care.
Yep.
If we are able to be productive citizens of this nation, we need to be able to fight and be able to feed our children with hard work and dedication, not with sitting with welfare and public assistance to help us. We can help ourselves, but we need you to help us too. We need you to help fight for universal child care because we need it. Our community in Brownsville still does not have after-school programs for our children. Children from 0 to 12 years old have no help except for Shirley Chisholm. Now is the time to step up and help. On February, we're due to close, but we're not gonna close. We're still here to fight for Shirley Chisholm. And I want to continue to say for everyone, thank you for this moment, for this voice, for giving me this podium. And I thank you, Senator, again, Maisha, everyone in Senator Brisport's office, and all those people that helped to continue to help this daycare to stay open. Thank you, thank you. from me and
Yeah.
my family.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Fabian Rogers, and I'm one of the other constituent advocates in Senator Brisport's office. And I'm here to actually welcome Obi Afriye and Carla Sono to the stage. Obi and Carla, you've both been organizers who have been truly doing the work. You're on the ground as a part of the fight in a space that many others have shied away from. Our office is honored to shed the light on the progress you've made in Red Hook and how you've acknowledged, given purpose, drive, and vision to the youth of your community, which has long been well organized but lacking support and resources. We come here tonight to say, we see you, we uplift you, we encourage you to keep going. And as a fellow organizer against mass incarceration, I admire your tenacity, passion, and leadership. Again, joining our stage, Obi and Carla for tonight.
Thank y'all. Thank you so much for the invite. What's up, Mom? Hope you're watching. All right. I just wanted to take some time before we start to really thank and give praise to the amazing young adult organizing team that makes all of this work possible. I work with a team of 11. I was only given a +1. I actually asked for a +11. I brought Carla here. Carla's been one of our public safety organizers since the jump of this program. She's gone through our entire training program. She helped us plan a rally and our first ever Swing It to Community event that ended up being the city council debate that Alexa Vilas was elected from, and that led to us having such a strong partnership with her on a lot of legislation that we pushed. So thank you, Carla. We have Carla, a quick round of applause. I'm a nervous talker, so I'll be very brief. I just want to say, just going to the point that Stephanie from Shirley Church School said, like, we really need to invest in our young communities. And I think that a lot of times when we talk about investing in our young people, we talk about education. And I think that when we invest in them, is that we need to give them a seat at the table. They need to be involved in a lot of the conversations that are had here. I think about Red Hook as a community. Red Hook is a community that does not have a high school, that does not have a bank. Until 2 weeks ago, there was not a healthcare center. It is also a food desert, it's an industrialized zone, and there's not a transportation system. Like, all of those things, and then you think about the over-policing that happens in Red Hook. We have ICE, we have neighborhood safety teams, we have SRG groups. If we have all of those things, how could our young people then succeed? And when we think about that, we think about the issues that are given. We like tiptoe around what makes communities safer. It's not more police, it's not more law enforcement, it's community reinvestment. It's police accountability in safer spaces. It's things like mental health resources. We can't, like, going to what Senator Brisport was talking about, the amount of money that's been lost and the educators that have lost during COVID. We had a policing budget of $11.2 billion in New York City. And to fund that, we took away $300 million from the Department of Education. 2,000 teachers were let go. That's right. How is that going to help our young people succeed? You know, and I'm all bringing this up to just think about what's been going on with the mayor's directive for involuntary treatment. The communities that this is going to affect the most are our young Black and brown people. Because we also don't get to have mental health conversations with our community, and there's not resources given to that as well. So please, like, as organizers, you all understand this. You guys are all on the grassroots. You have your community bases. We need to be uniting our bases to fight for the most marginalized within our communities, because if we don't, no one else will. There's going to be a rally tomorrow at 12 p.m. At City Hall for the to just talk about and to denounce just what's going on with the mayor's plan. If you want to know more about it, please come talk to us. I really hope to see you all there. And thank you so much, like, Senator Brisport and his team for just working with us, because a lot of politicians, y'all know how it is. They talk the talk, you know? Think about all the progressives that ran over the last couple of years promising transformative change, and then they went quiet when we really needed them to. And that has never been Senator Brisport. Senator Brisport and his team understand the importance of youth offender status, of things like ending qualified immunity. Maisha be calling me all the time, just brainstorming new ways that we can get involved, and I appreciate you so much, because yes, thank you for that. Thank you for always really fighting for us, because, like, they're the future, y'all. So, all right, let's leave.
So again, evening up here again, and this is the last one for the evening. During the pandemic, an entire generation of young people experienced trauma and isolation during crucial formative years. More people were pushed into poverty, and many of the caregivers and elders we relied on for guidance were taken from us. Our social structures have been fundamentally destabilized, accelerating the spread of violence like a second epidemic. In response to this, the New York State Legislature enacted the Community Violence Intervention Act, or CVIA, as a part of the budget for fiscal year 2021 and again for fiscal year 2022. This gun violence intervention program, grant program, is a modified version of Senator Zelma Meyerie's bill, S 1049, which declares gun violence as a public health crisis and establishes grant programs within New York State Office of Victim Services, or OVS. As a result, Senator Brisport, our office, of course, was able to grant $125,000 across fiscal years 2021 and 2022 to support community-based and hospital-based programs to address gun violence. Thankfully, despite chronic underfunding, Brooklyn is home to some incredible violence interrupters who provide rapid de-escalation in the immediate aftermath of a conflict and a range of other services to stop the spread of violence. These organizations and individuals who make them possible are living examples of doing the groundwork within this district to cure gun violence. So whether it be through public and personal health, building soft and hard professional skills among Black youth who are disproportionately impacted by community violence, or cultivating leadership through mediation and de-escalation through impacted communities, or even servicing families of both victims and perpetrators of community violence alike. It is my pleasure to introduce Charlene Nash Pryor of Man Up NYC, Barry Coach Cooper, the founder and executive director of the Bro Experience Foundation, Shaniqua Coco Purvis, the founder and executive director of Both Sides of the Violence, Inc., Kellen Kalefu, the director of Neighborhood Strategies under the umbrella of Save Our Streets and Neighbors in Action, and lastly, Ramik Williams, the co-executive director of Kings Against Violence Initiative.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much, Senator Brisport, for having us. I'm, of course, Charlene Nash Pryor, and I'm part of executive management at Man Up Inc. Man Up Inc. was founded in 2005 by our founder and executive director, Andre Tubuti Mitchell, who recently has been appointed as the New York City gun czar by Mayor Eric Adams. Man Up Inc. has been in existence since 2005, fighting the good fight in our community. It all was as a result of the unfortunate and tragic killing of an 8-year-old in East New York. And Brother Mitchell, as we call him, began to do this work for the love of his community and the love of his people. And as a result, now 17 years later, our violence interrupters has been recognized as some of the premier violence interrupters in the city. We do this work that we can ensure that we stop violence in our communities, but in the interim, we are interrupting violence. We not only want to interrupt violence, but we offer our community residents and the residents of New York City alternatives to violence. Throughout we have a myriad of initiatives where we offer wraparound services that community residents and our youth have an alternative to violence. It is our commitment, our long-standing and ongoing commitment to stop violence in our communities, because you know the Black and brown community is infected and affected, and the prevalence of violence is much greater there than anywhere else. So on behalf of Man Up, Senator, we look forward to working with you. We have offices throughout Brooklyn, and one of our newest offices is in your district. We are in Bedford-Stuyvesant, we are in East New York, we are in Canarsie. We work out at hospitals, we do after-school programs, summer camp, job development. We're inside of schools doing conflict mediation to stop the violence. So we are really committed to the work, and we look very forward to working with you, Senator. We also have, we're here with me, the director of our Cure Violence, our CMS team, and I really want to recognize him, Captain Richards. He's doing a wonderful job. So, thank you for this award, and we look forward to doing some work with you, Senator, and I know you're new. Let's get it.
Purvis, aka Coco. I am the CEO of Both Sides of the Violence that was established in 2021. And I want to say right now, I just need everybody to stand up and give themselves a hand. It takes a lot to service your community, to service where you live. And I've heard people come up here and say, you know, who's Jabari? No, Jabari is outside.
Yes.
Jabari been outside. Jabari's been with me outside. Jabari will call me and be like, Coco, is it shooting? Oh my God, we outside. Yes, we are outside, Jabari. And he has been there outside with us at shooting responses, food giveaways, holiday events. And he always called me and let me know that he has my back. Thank you, Maisha, where she at? I move and we outside too. He's at our shooting responses also. So what we do is, well, we're new, but I come from the great works of SOS and Man Up Inc. And it's just an honor, such an honor to be up here sharing this award with them in such a short period of time that I've been around. But I've been doing this work for over 10 years because my sister was murdered by a stray bullet in Tompkins houses in 2002. So I've been doing this work diligently to make sure no family goes through what my family is going through. And in my growth, and I'm gonna say this again, hallelujah, in my growth, I have also learned to mentor the person who actually had killed my sister.
Wow.
To make sure that he tells his story and make sure no other family goes through what he has gone through. So hence both sides of the violence. Both sides of the violence deal with victims such as myself, and we deal with perpetrators such as him, because what I learned in this work, in my growth, that perpetrators are victims too. So we have to go to the root of the trauma. How did this happen? When did it happen? Why did this happen? So that's my job. So I'm here. I'm doing school mediation conflict in 3 schools. I'm also on Rikers Island. And I'm also on a Project Restore Bed-Stuy, which we're doing a press conference tomorrow, to introduce a new program that we're doing, implementing with street formation gangs. So to make sure that no other child, 1-year-old, 2-year-old, coming home from school would be shot or have their birthday party. So that's my job, everyone, and I love my job. And anybody in here need me for anything, you know I'm here. Maisha, I'm a away. And that's my sister's name. That's why I love her so much. My sister's name is Maisha Pumpkin Hubbard, and this is for you, boo. Black girls can jump.
Good evening, everyone. To our great Senator Jabari Brisport, I just want to say I really thank you for this award. Oftentimes, and I think it's been echoed, we do this from the heart. You know, we want to create spaces for our people to have their voices heard. I'm Barry Cooper. I'm the executive director and founder of an amazing organization entitled The Grow Experience. The B, the R, and the O stands for Brothers Redefining Opportunity. And, you know, oftentimes when we use language, you know, being an educator, I think that is one of the reasons why I do the work that I do, because I want to detach this understanding that violence, when we think about violence, when we think about our community being safe, that black boys, right, are the perpetrators of that. So with the Grow Experience, we actually create spaces for our young men, because when they grow up in housing in NYCHA, they don't specifically have a place to go. Once they hit 14, right, because everything is for younger people, at the Grow Experience, we create transformational spaces for our young men. We operate in Bed-Stuy, in Brownsville. They call me the Shark because you never really see me outside, but I'm in the spaces where young men actually reside, and we create cognitive spaces where they actually able to think about who they are in real time, how the society is impacting the decisions and the behaviors that they have, so that way they can make decisions that's within their best interest. And they are not attached to violence. Violence is something that happens across this globe. So this idea that our boys in particular, right, they are prone to it, it's just non-existent. Do we have things that we need to work on in our community? Absolutely, but what have we provided the spaces? What if we were intentional? And that's the work that we do at the Grow Experience. So it's a journey. So Brisport, I thank you, my brother. You have from the moment I met you, provided my organization with resources, being a fellow educator. I was once the dean and director of coaching for Eagle Academy. You know the work, and I think that's why Synergy Live. So I thank you, Maisha, and the team for awarding the Grow experience. Thank you.
Peace, everyone. Feel like I have a homework assignment that I didn't do and not prepared for. So how could I do this? My name is Kelly Kalefu. I'm the director of Neighbors in Action, demonstration project under the Center for Court Innovation and home for one of our flagship programs, Save Our Streets Brooklyn. Thank you, Senator Bridgeport and the team for this acknowledgement and this honor. I humbly accept that on behalf of the 27 staff members that we have that covers Bed-Stuy and Crown Heights to do the work. I think one of the things that's really important to share in terms of our approach, our framework to the work, is that we approach community safety work or public safety work not through the lens of reducing the amount of gunshots we see, not through reducing the amount of arrests or reducing recidivism rates, but through developing, empowering, and enhancing individual, groups, and community, i.e. community development. The SOS program, right, and our comrades that just spoke to you before are part of a collective that looks at these challenges and issues from a different lens, right? Oftentimes, we use a public health lens to approach gun violence. And some of the factors aren't just diminishing the symptoms, right? Because gun violence and loss of life are symptoms of a larger problem, but really going to the root of that. And oftentimes, what are those roots? Poverty, housing insecurity, food insecurity, connections and opportunities for people. And we really take this approach of we create safe spaces through the developments and the fortifications of people and spaces. We want to thank you and your office for making that investment in not the reductions of gun violence and shootings, but into the development and the upbuilding of community and people and spaces. And we hope that, you know, as we continue to move forward in this journey, in this marathon, as it's our time to hold the baton, to carry it forward and to push this work forward for the next generation, that we continue to invest in peace. We continue to invest in youth. We continue to invest in public spaces, because those are the pathways that create a safe and vibrant community for all of us. So thank you so much.
Before I close this out for tonight, I just wanted to double check, is Ramik here? Ramik from Cobby?
What? No, he's not.
All right, well, that's our ceremony. Thank you, everybody, for being with us tonight. I would also like to thank the rest of the Senators team for making this event possible. So Maddie, Fabian, Maisha, Liz, Ayana, all of you, thank you so much and Tatiana as well. I hope you're feeling better. She said she couldn't make it tonight. And yeah, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for being with us here tonight. And we'll see you soon.
Yeah.